Welcome, YouTubers, to another episode in my Grammar Hero series. In this video, there's going to be 38 practice test questions that should closely mirror what you should expect to see in the Arithmetic Reasoning subtest of both the Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery, that is the ASVAB, as well as the pre-screening Internet Delivered Computer Adaptive Test, that is the PiCAT. As a quick reminder, on the actual ASVAB and PiCAT, you'll have 39 minutes to answer 16 questions, and likewise, you will not be permitted to use a calculator or a reference sheet. Instead, you'll have to work out these problems using scratch paper and a pencil, I believe. Finally, I quickly want to mention this. Please do not pay for tutoring or access to online boot camps or mobile apps. Truth be told, the vast majority of you will pass this very simple test on your first try, as long as you spend anywhere from a week to a month studying for it. Likewise, many of those mobile apps and online boot camps have simply copied and pasted their materials from free resources, including from this YouTube channel. So, with all that being said, let's get started with these 38 practice test questions. This arithmetic reasoning practice test question for the ASVAB and PiCAT says, how many 5 1/4 ounce glasses can be filled from a 31.5 ounce container of apple juice? So we're going to do 31 and 1/2 divided by 5 and 1/4. To do this division, we first have to convert these mixed numbers to improper fractions. So let's do that next. To convert 31.5 to an improper fraction, we do 31 times 2, which is going to be 62 plus 1, 63, and that's going to be over 2. And this is divided by 5 and 1/4. Let's convert that to an improper fraction. 5 times 4 is 20 plus 1 is 21, and this is over 4. So now we're dividing two fractions or two improper fractions. So we're going to follow the algorithm keep, change, flip. We're going to keep this top fraction the same. So this is going to remain as uh, 63 over 2. We're going to change from division here to multiplication. And then we're going to flip this bottom fraction to be 4 over 21. All right, let's go ahead and cross reduce to make this math a little bit easier. 2 goes into 2, one time 2 goes into 4, 2 times. Likewise, you should know this. 7 goes into 21 3 times, and 7 goes into 63 9 times. So what does this become? This becomes 9 over 1 times 2 over 3. When you multiply fractions, you just multiply straight across. 9 times 2 is 18. 1 times 3 is 3. 18 divided by 3 is 6. So this one is C6. You can get 6 glasses from that container of apple juice. This arithmetic reasoning practice test question for the ASVAB and PiCAT says, to reach his treehouse, Ray must climb 9 1/3 feet up a rope ladder and then 8 5/6 feet up the tree trunk. How far does he climb in total? So we're simply going to add 9 1/3 and 8 5/6 together. The easiest way to do this is to do 8 and 9 off to the side. So 9 plus 8, you should know, is going to be 17. And then we're going to add 1/3 and 5/6 together separately. In order to add these two fractions, they have to have the same or common denominator. 3 and 6 both go into 6, so we're going to rewrite these with a common denominator of 6. Again, 5/6 already has a denominator of 6, and we're going to multiply 3 by 2 to make it 6, and we're also going to have to do that to its numerator. 2 times 1 is 2. When you add fractions, you keep the denominator the same, and then you just add your numerators. 2 plus 5 is 7. All right, so this becomes 17 plus 7, 6, which we're going to convert to a mixed number via long division. 7 divided by 6. 6 goes into 7 one time without going over. 1 times 6 is 6. 7 minus 6 is 1. So this 1 is going to be our whole number. This remainder of 1 is going to be our numerator, and this 6 is going to be our denominator. 17 plus 1 and 1/6 is going to be 18 and 1/6. There's nothing hard about this problem. The answer is B. The arithmetic reasoning practice test question for the ASVAB and PiCAT says a local paving company has been contracted to pave a parking lot that is 180 feet long and 100 feet wide. If one drum of paving asphalt mix will cover 1,200 square feet, how many drums of paving asphalt mix should be delivered to the job site? So first we have to find the area that they're trying to pave. According to the problem, we're going to say it's a rectangle, so its area is going to be length times width. This is going to be 180 times 100. Now, if you can't do that math mentally, I strongly encourage you to do this one off to the side. Again, we have 180 times 100. We're going to have a lot of zeros here, and we're going to have to be careful to line them up correctly. 0 times these three numbers is going to give you 3 zeros. Before we start multiplication with this zero, we have to add a zero placeholder. Again, 0 times these three gives you 3 zeros. Before we start multiplication with that 1 now, we have to add 2 zero placeholders. 1 times 0 is 0. 1 times 8 is 8. 1 times 1 is 1. Now let's add all this up. 0, 0, 0, 8, 1. This is 18,000. So they have 18,000 square feet of asphalt to pave. And we're going to divide this by the amount of square feet that each mix covers, and that's 1,200. Cross out our corresponding zeros. This leaves us with 180 over 12. If you want to do the long division to make this easier, you can. 180 divided by 12. How many times does 12 go into 18 without going over? That's one time. 12 times 1 is 12. 18 minus 12 is 6. Drop down to 0. 12 times 5 is exactly 60. So it's going to take B 15 drums of the asphalt mix to pave this parking lot. This arithmetic reasoning practice test question for the ASVAB and PiCAT says, a poster is 18 inches high and 24 inches long. It was made by enlarging a photograph that was 3 inches high. If the photograph was proportionally enlarged, how long was the original photograph? So it's telling you right here to set up a proportion. Again, a proportion is nothing more than two fractions that are equal to each other. Let's fill in this left-hand side with the information that we were given. Notably that the poster is 18 inches high and 24 inches long. And let's fill in the rest of this proportion over here with the information that we have left. Notably that it was 3 inches high. Again, I put 18 inches high here, so I'm going to put 3 inches high over here. And we don't know how long it is, so I'm going to say this is X inches long. Now, normally you solve proportions via cross multiplication, but in this case, let's think about it this way. To go from 18 to 3, you would divide by 6. So we know that this proportion scaled by a factor of 6. To go from 24 to x, you're also going to divide by 6. 24 divided by 6 is 4. So we know x is 4, which means that the length of this photograph was 4 inches. Likewise, you could have said this, 18 over 24 can be reduced by a common factor of 6, and we can see that 18 divided by 6 is 3, 24 divided by 6 is 4. That's a quick way to check that these are in fact proportional, and you now see that they are. So this one is 4 inches. This arithmetic reasoning practice test question for the ASVAB and PiCAT says, Michael and Michaela received an inheritance of $300,000. Of Michaela received $180,000 and Michael got the rest. What percent of the inheritance did Michael receive? All right, so first we have to figure out how much money Michael received. And to do that, we're going to do $300,000. That is the amount of their inheritance. Subtract it by Michaela's share. Again, she got $180,000. Let's do this subtraction. 0, 0, 0, 0. 0 minus 8 we can't do, so this is going to become 2. This become 10. 10 minus 8 is 2. 2 minus 1 is 1. So Michael got $120,000. What percent is that of the inheritance? Well, we're going to do 120,000 divided by 300,000. That is to say, we're going to write this as a fraction, which will then convert to a decimal and a percent. As it happens, it's going to be very easy to do in this case. Let's get started by crossing out these corresponding zeros in our numerator and denominator. This simplifies to 12 over 30, which have a common factor of 3, so we can reduce this even further. 12 divided by 3 is 4. 30 divided by 3 is 10. 4 divided by 10 is 0.4, which is 40%. So this one is going to be B. Now, truthfully, if you wanted to solve this one in a much quicker way from the get-go, You could simply write this as 30 and this as 18. You would do 30 minus 18 is 12. And then you would do 12 over 30 gets you 40%. So again, there's multiple ways to solve these. I did it the long way, but if you're smart enough, you could have solved that. You just get rid of all those zeros and do the easy math from the get-go. This arithmetic reasoning practice test question says a photograph was reduced to a width of 15.6 centimeters using a scale factor of 3 to 2. What was the width of the original photograph? So we're going to use a proportion to solve this one. We're going to put this scale factor of 3 to 2 on the left-hand side of our proportion. And how are we going to fill in the right-hand side? Well, this 15.6 centimeters corresponds to the smaller value. So I'm going to put that down here with this smaller value of 2. And we don't know its original width, so we'll call that x. How do you solve proportions? You do so via cross multiplication. 2 times x is 2x equals 3 times 15.6. Let's go ahead and do this math off to the side. We have 15.6 times 3. We're going to move this decimal one place to the right to make this 156 times 3, albeit with one decimal to move back into our answer. 6 times 3 is 18, carry a 1. 15, 16, carry a 1, 3, 4. So move our one decimal back in. This says 2x equals 46.8. Again, we just want x, so we're going to divide both sides by 2. This crosses out. This says x equals 46.8 divided by 2. And you can do this one mentally. This one's very easy to do. 4 divided by 2 is 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. Put our decimal there. 8 divided by 2 is 4. So its original width is D, 23.4 centimeters. You could also do the long division, but you're going to get the same result. 2 goes into 4 2 times, 2 goes into 6 3 times. Bring our decimal up. 2 times 4 is 8. So again, this would give you no remainder. So this one is D. This arithmetic reasoning practice test question for the ASVAB and PiCAT says, Tim is flying to Chicago and his plane leaves at 12:15 p.m. Additionally, he has to arrive at the airport 60 minutes before his flight in order to check in. If it takes him 15 minutes to drive to the airport and 30 minutes to get ready, what time should Tim start getting ready? So on the ASVAB and PiCAT, you will see a question in which you have to be able to tell time. That is a guarantee. But in this case, it's a pretty simple problem. Again, we're going to work backwards. He has to get to the airport at 12:15, and it takes him an hour to check in. So we're going to subtract 60 minutes from 12:15 p.m. That gets us to 11:15 a.m. Uh, we're told, according to the problem, it takes him 15 minutes to drive to the airport. So that takes us to 11 a.m. And then we're told it takes him 30 minutes to get ready. So this brings us to 10:30 a.m. So clearly Tim should start getting ready at C, 10:30 a.m. This ASVAB PiCAT arithmetic reasoning practice test question says a plumber charges a flat service fee of $50 plus $40 per hour for his work. If he charged a customer $210 for a job, how many hours did he work? So we can actually solve this one using a linear equation that is y equals mx plus b. Y, of course, is going to be the total amount he charged. B is going to be his flat fee, and m times x is going to be his hourly rate times the number of hours that he worked. So again, he charged $210 for this job. His hourly rate, according to the problem, is $40 per hour. So that's going to be 40 times x, where x represents the number of hours that he worked at the job, plus his flat fee of $50. Again, to get the number of hours that he worked, we're just going to be solving for x. So subtract 50 from both sides, of course. This crosses out. 210 minus 50 is going to be 160 equals 40x. Again, to get x by itself, divide both sides by 40. This crosses out, leaving you with x over here. Cross out these corresponding zeros. 16 divided by 4 is 4. So he worked B for 4 hours at that job. This arithmetic reasoning practice test question for the ASVAB and PiCAT says a group of 25 partners share the profit of a business. what percentage of profit does each receive if they share equally? So each partner is going to get 1/25th of the profit. Now we have to convert this fraction into a decimal and then a percent. And the way we're going to do that is by treating this as long division. Again, I could read this as 1 divided by 25. Of course, 25 doesn't go into 1. That said, we could add a decimal after our 1 and a couple of zero placeholders. Again, 25 does not go into 1, so put a 0 over 1 to indicate that. Bring the decimal into our answer. How many times does 25 go into 10? It doesn't, so put a 0 over 10. How many times does 25 go into 100? Well, that's going to be 4 times. 25 times 4 is exactly 100. 100 minus 100 is 0, so we have no remainder. So this is 0.04 as a decimal, which is the same thing as 4%. So this one is C, 4%. Each partner is going to receive 4% of the profit. This ASVAB PiCAT Arithmetic Reasoning practice test question says a boy walked 2 miles to his friend's house. If he walked at an average speed of 1.5 miles per hour, how long did it take him to reach his friend's house? So for this one, we're going to use the distance formula to solve it. That is, distance is equal to rate times time. In this case, we know that the boy walked a total distance of 2 miles. So for D, we'll put 2. And he walked at a speed or a rate of 1.5 miles per hour. And of course, we're going to be solving for t. So to get t by itself, we're going to start by dividing both sides by 1 1/2. In doing so, this crosses out, leaving you a t over here. So we can see that t is equal to uh, 2 divided by, and let me go ahead and convert this to mixed numbers so we can proceed. 1 times 2 is 2 plus 1 is 3, so this is 2 divided by 3 over 2. Now, of course, it may not be obvious, but what we're doing here is we're actually dividing two fractions. Again, I could write 2 as a fraction by rewriting it as 2 over 1. 2 divided by 1 is 2. So now that we're dividing two fractions, we're going to follow the algorithm keep, change, flip. That is to say, we're going to keep 2 over 1 the same. We're going to change from division here to multiplication, and then we're going to flip this bottom fraction to be 2 over 3 instead of 3 over 2. And now when you multiply fractions, you just multiply straight across. This becomes 2 times 2, which is 4, over 1 times 3, which is 3. So it took him 4/3 of an hour to make it to his friend's house. We got to convert this back in terms of out to be in terms of hours and minutes. Again, there's 60 minutes in 1 hour, so we'll go ahead and multiply this by 60. Again, write 60 as a fraction by placing it over 1. And to make this math a lot easier, we're going to cross reduce. 3 goes into 3 one time, 3 goes into 60. 3 goes into 6 two times, therefore it goes into 60 20 times. This is 4 over 1, which is just 4, times 20 over 1, which is just 20. 4 times 20 is 80. So it took him 80 minutes to make it to his friend's house. Again, there are 60 minutes in an hour. 80 minus 60 leaves us with 20 minutes. So it took him 1 hour and 20 minutes to make it to his friend's house. So this one is going to be B. Again, you do have to know this formula for the test. Likewise, you have to be able to convert between hours and minutes and so on and so forth. That is something that does show up pretty frequently on this test. This arithmetic reasoning practice test question for the ASVAB and PiCAT says two rectangular display cases have a base of 11 by 11 inches. However, one case is 13 inches and the other is 21 inches high. What is the difference in volume between the two cases? So we're trying to find the volume of rectangular display cases that have a square base. In other words, we're trying to find the volume of a rectangular prism. That's one formula that you do have to know for this test. And since we're going to be finding the volume twice, I'm going to write volume 1 and volume 2. In both cases, we're finding the volume of a rectangular prism, so that's going to be length times width times height for both of them. And for both of these, we know that they have a base of 11 by 11 inches. In other words, its length and width here is 11 times 11. Likewise, the length and width here is 11 times 11. That said, according to the problem, this one has a height of 13 inches and this one has a height of 21 inches. Now we got to do some arithmetic to work this out. That said, you should know 11 times 11 is 121. So this is 121 times 13. Again, this is going to be 121 times 21. And so as not to make any mistakes, I'm going to work both of these off to the side. We have 121 times 13. 3 times 1 is 3. 2 times 3 is 6. 3 times 1 is 3. Before we start multiplication with this one, we have to bring in a zero placeholder. 1 times 1 is 1. 2 times 1 is 2. 1 times 1 is 1. Let's add this all up. 3, 7, 5, 1. So this one's volume is 1573. Let's find the volume here by doing this arithmetic off to the side. We have 121 times 21. 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times 2 is 2. 1 times 1 is 1. Before we start multiplication with this 2, add in a zero placeholder. 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 1 is 2. Let's add this all up. This is 1, 4, 5, 2. So this volume is 2541. Of course, we want to find the difference in volume. So that means we're simply going to subtract their volumes. Specifically, we're going to do 2541 minus 1573. We can't do 1 minus 3, so we have to borrow. This is going to become 3. This will become 11. 11 minus 3 is 8. 3 minus 7 we can't do. We have to borrow. This becomes 4. This becomes 13. 13 minus 7 is 6. 4 minus 5 we can't do. We have to borrow. This becomes 1. This becomes 14. 14 minus 5 is 9. 1 minus 1 is nothing. So the difference in volume of these two rectangular display cases is A, 968 cubic inches. This arithmetic reasoning practice test question for the ASVAB and PiCAT says, if Gloria deposits $200 at 7% for 1 year, how much will that deposit be worth at the end of that year? So this is a simple interest question. You have to know this formula for the test, notably that interest I is equal to your principal times your interest rate times time. In this case, our principal is the amount that we deposited, which is $200. Our interest rate, according to the problem, is 7%, which is 0.07 as a decimal. And she left this money in the account for 1 year, so T is 1. 0.07 times 1 is just 0.07. Again, anything times 1 is itself. So this simplifies to 200 times 0.07. And I'm going to do that math off to the side here so as not to make any mistakes. We have 200 times 0.07. Move our decimal 2 places to the right to make this 200 times 7, albeit with 2 decimals to move back into the left. 0 times 7 is 0. 0 times 7 is 0. 2 times 7 is 14. Bring our 2 decimals back in. So over the course of a year, she earned $14 in interest. How much is the deposit worth? So we got to calculate the total. That's going to be equal to her principal plus the interest that she earned. She again invested $200, earned $14 in interest for a total of $214. So this one is going to be D. This arithmetic reasoning practice test question for the ASVAB and PiCAT says, Andy went to the grocery store to buy bananas. If each banana costs 78 cents and he spent 468, how many bananas did he buy? So to answer this one, we're simply going to do 468 divided by 78 cents. Of course, you can't do long division with a decimal outside the division bracket. So we're going to take this decimal in 0.78 and shift it 2 times to the right to rewrite that as 78. And we're going to shift this decimal in 468 a corresponding number of times. That is 1, 2 times to the right to rewrite that as 468. What is 468 divided by 78? Well, you know it's got to be one of these answer choices. I'm going to say it's going to be closest to 6. So off to the side, I'm going to do 78 times 6 and see if this gives me my answer. 8 times 6 is 48, so carry a 4. 7 times 6 is 42. 43, 44, 45, 46. So 78 times 6 is exactly 468 with no remainder. So we know that Andy must have bought B, 6 bananas. You do have to be able to do long division with decimals for the ASVAB and PiCAT. This arithmetic reasoning practice test question for the ASVAB and PiCAT says a product originally cost $125. If the product goes on sale for 20% off and then goes on sale for an additional 30% off, what is the price of the product? So in this case, the one thing you cannot do is combine 20% and 30% and take a 50% discount. That will get you the wrong answer. Instead, you have to apply these discounts individually. So let's get started with this first discount of 20%. Again, to find the sales price, you're going to take the original price, and from that, you're going to subtract the original price times the discount amount. The original price is $125. And what is the discount amount? Well, for this first discount, it's 20%, which is either zero point 0.2 as a decimal or 1/5 as a fraction. I'm going to use the fraction 1/5 because this is very easy to do mentally. This becomes 125 minus what's 125 times 1/5? That's the same thing as 125 divided by 5, which is going to be 25. Now, if you couldn't do that mentally, you could always do it off to the side. We have 125 divided by 5. 5 goes into 12 two times without going over. 5 times 2 is 10. 12 minus 10 is 2. Drop down this 5. 5 times 5 is 25. All right, so 125 minus 25 is 100. Now we're going to do the same thing for our 30% discount. This becomes sales price equals original price minus original price times discount amount. In this case, our new price is $100, so we'll plug that in for original price. This becomes 100 minus 100 times our discount amount. What is our discount amount? It's 30%, which is zero point 0.3 as a decimal. So this is times zero point 0.3. This math is very easy to do mentally. 100 times zero point 0.3 is 30. 100 minus 30 is 70. So after two successive discounts, the final price of our product is B, $70. This arithmetic reasoning practice test question for the ASVAB and PiCAT says a $15 minimum payment was made on a credit card balance of $480. The card was not used the following month, but the statement showed a balance of $548.70. What percent interest is the credit card company charging to carry the balance? So we're going to use the percent change formula to solve this one. Again, percent change is equal to the new value minus the old value over the old value. This will result in a decimal that you can then multiply by 100 to convert that decimal to percent. Most people can do that part mentally. So let's go ahead and start filling this formula in. What is the new value? It's right here. It's 548.70. What is the old value? Here we have to be very careful as to what we plug in. Some people would say it's 480. That's not correct. Again, we made a $15 payment. So our old value is going to be 480 minus 15, which is 465. So this is 465. Again, this is over the old value, 465. And we can multiply this by 100 to convert our decimal to percent. Let's keep working this out. Let's do down here, I'm going to do 548.70 minus 465. 70 minus nothing is 70. Bring down our decimal. 8 minus 5 is 3. 4 minus 6 we can't do. We have to borrow. This becomes 4. This becomes 14. 14 minus 6 is 8. 4 minus 4 is nothing. So this is 83.70 divided by 465. Again, multiply this resulting decimal by 100 to get your percent. Now we got to do this long division here. This says 83.70 divided by 465. And the great thing about the ASVAB is everything usually works out evenly, and that's how you know you're on the right track. How many times does 465 go into 873 without going over? And again, bring up your decimal into your answer. This is going to be one time. How do I know that? Look at your answer choices. They all start with 1. 465 times 1 is 465. Let's do this subtraction here. This is 2. We have to borrow. This becomes 7. This becomes 13. This is going to be 7. This is going to be 3. And we bring down this 0. Now, how many times does 465 go into 3,720? Again, it's either going to be 5, 6, 7, or 8 times. I'm going to do 8 because that's the biggest number. So we got 465 times 8. 5 times 8 is 40. Carry a 4. 8 times 6 is 48, 49, 50, 51, 52. Carry a 5. 4 times 8 is 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37. So we can see that 465 times 8 is exactly 3,720. So we have no remainder. Therefore, we know that this is going to be 0.18 times 100. Again, that's the same thing as 18%. So this one is D, 18%. Again, this is a very hard problem, very tedious, a lot of decimals and mental math to do in this one. ASVAB PiCAT Arithmetic Reasoning practice test question for the ASVAB and PiCAT says Tennis court is 78 feet long, divided into two halves by a net. For singles play, the court is 27 feet wide. For doubles play, an additional 4.5 feet are allowed to be used along each of the two longer sides. How much larger is the area of the doubles court than the singles court? So we're talking about a tennis court. Both of those are going to be rectangles, so their areas are going to be length times width. And both courts, what's more, have a length of 78. So let's go ahead and write that in for both of these areas. What is the width of the singles court? Well, according to the problem, it's 27 feet. What is the width of the doubles court? Well, according to the problem, you get an extra 4.5 feet here and an extra 4.5 feet here. 4.5 and 4.5 is 9. 9 plus 27 gets you to 36 as your width for that. Now you have to do some tedious math. We're going to multiply these out, and then we're going to subtract a bigger area from the smaller area. And I'm going to do that right here so I don't make any mistakes here. 7 times 8 is 56, carry a 5. 7 times 7 is 49, plus 5 is 54. Add a 0 placeholder. 2 times 8 is 16, carry a 1. 7 times 2 is 14, plus 1 is 15. Let's add these up. This is going to be 6, 10, so bring down a 0, carry a 1, 10, 11, carry a 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. So the area of the smaller court is 2,106 square feet. Let's do this math over here. We have 78 times 36. 8 times 6 is going to be 48, carry a 4. 7 times 6, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46. Add a 0 placeholder. 8 times 3 is 24, carry a 2. 7 times 3 is 21, 22, 23. Let's add this up now. 8, again, this is 10, so carry a 1, 7, 8, and then 2. So the area of the doubles court is 2,808. To find the difference, we just subtract them, and I'm going to do 2,808 minus 2,106. Thankfully enough, this is the easiest part of the problem. 8 minus 6 is 2, 0 minus 0 is 0. 8 minus 1 is 7, 2 minus 2 is 0. So the difference is C, 702 square feet. Very tedious problem. This arithmetic reasoning practice test question for the ASVAB and PiCAT says a decorator removes equal sized corners from a rectangular piece of fabric to create a tablecloth as shown in the illustration. What is the area of the tablecloth? So we need to figure out what type of shape we have for our tablecloth. If it's a square, its two diagonals are going to be equal. That is, D1 is going to be equal to D2. If the diagonals are not equal, we have either a diamond or a rhombus. So let's quickly check the length of our diagonals. Here's one diagonal. You can see it's going to be 3 plus 3. And we have 3 here and 3 here. So diagonal 1 is 3 plus 3 or 6. Here's our second diagonal. You can see it's 4 plus 4. So diagonal 2 is 8. Our two diagonals are not equal to each other, so we're not working with the square in this case, which means we got to find a different way to solve it. And it's actually fairly easy to solve this one. I'm going to find the area of this big rectangle. Again, if this is 4, this is 4. If this is 3, this is 3. How do you find the area of rectangle? It's length times width. So we're going to use these dimensions to find the area of this big rectangle. Minus 4 times, what do we have in these corners? We have triangles. So if I find the area of one of these triangles and multiply it by 4 and subtract that, I'll know the area of the tablecloth. How do you find the area of a triangle? It's 1/2 times base times height. So area of a big rectangle, again, its length is 3 plus 3 or 6. Its width is 4 plus 4 or 8 minus 4 times 1/2 times base. What's the base of this right triangle right here? It's 3. What's its height? It's right here. It's 4. All right, this math is very simple to do. 6 times 8 is 48 minus 4 times 3 times 4 is 12. 1/2 of 12 is 6. So this is 48 minus 4 times 6 is 24. 48 minus 24, I'll do off to the side for you. 8 minus 4 is 4. 4 minus 2 is 2. So the area of this tablecloth is C, 24 square feet. Again, this is not a square. We determined that by looking at its lengths of its diagonals. And to find the area of the tablecloth, we found the area of the big rectangle. And from that, we subtracted each of the one, two, three, four triangles in each corner. So that is that one. This arithmetic reasoning practice test question for the ASVAB and PiCAT says a sold out concert hall seated a total of 8,000 people. If there were 1,400 children seated, 5,000 men seated, and the rest were women, what percentage of the seats were occupied by women? So the first thing we have to figure out is how many women are in the concert hall. And to do that, we're going to take the 8,000 people who are in the concert hall. We're going to subtract the 500 men who are there. 8,000 minus 5,000 is going to be 3,000. And then from the remaining 3,000 people, we're going to subtract the 1,400 of them who are children. 0 minus 0 is 0, 0 minus 0 is 0. 0 minus 4 we can't do, so we have to borrow. This becomes 2. This becomes 10. 10 minus 4 is 6. 2 minus 1 is 1. So this means that 1,600 of the 8,000 people in the concert hall are women. So all we have to do is convert this fraction to a decimal and then a percent. The easiest way to do that is to start by crossing out these corresponding zeros. This reduces to 16 over 80, and you should recognize that 16 and 80 have a common factor of 8. Specifically, 16 divided by 8 is 2. 80 divided by 8 is 10. And you should know that 2 tenths is the same thing as zero point 0.2, which is the same thing as 20%. So this one is going to be B, 20%. This arithmetic reasoning practice test question says the cost of a leather jacket went up from $60 to $90. What is its percent increase in price? So you have to know the percent change formula for this one. It's very easy to remember. You're going to take the new price minus the old price, divide it by the old price, and multiply that resulting decimal by 100. So let's go ahead and work this out. What is its new price? Its new price is 90, so we'll put 90 right here. What was its old price? Its old price was 60. Again, this is over 60 times 100. 90 minus 60 is 30, so this is 30 over 60 times 100. Again, cross out these corresponding zeros. This says 3 over 6 times 100. You should know that we can reduce 3 and 6 by a common factor of 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 6 divided by 3 is 2 times 100. What is the decimal equivalent of 1/2? It's zero point 0.5 times 100. When you multiply a decimal by 100, you take that decimal and you shift it to the right according to how many zeros you're multiplying it by. There are two zeros in 100, so 1, 2. In other words, its price increased by D 50%. ASVAB PiCAT arithmetic reasoning practice test question for the ASVAB and PiCAT says a triangular piece of art made of fabric will have a base of 12 feet and a height of 8 feet. How many square feet of fabric is needed for the art? So this word square feet means that we're going to be finding the area of this triangle. Area of a triangle, you have to know that formula for this test. Area equals 1/2 base times height. What is the base of our triangle? It's 12 feet. What is the height? It's 8. All right, so let's do this the easy way. 1/2 of 12 is 6. This is 6 times 8, which you should know from your times tables is C, 48. This arithmetic reasoning practice test question for the ASVAB and PiCAT says a person wants to install an in-ground swimming pool that will be 25 feet long, 18 feet wide, and 4 feet deep. What volume of dirt will need to be excavated for this pool? So this is kind of what that looks like. We're going to be finding the volume of this rectangular prism. And how do you find the volume of a rectangular prism? It's very simple, and you do have to know this formula. It's length times width times height. And thankfully enough, we were given all these values in the problem. We know our length is 25. We know our width is 18, and we know our depth is 4, so our height is 4. We could do some quick mental math here to make this easy. 25 times 4 we know is going to be 100. So this is 100 times 18. Now, when you multiply a number by a power of 10, such as 10, 100, 1,000, and so on, all you do is you take that decimal in the number. So here's the decimal in 18. We're multiplying it by 100, which has two zeros. So we're going to move this decimal place two times to the right to make this 1800. So 100 times 18 is 1800. This one is going to be C. Again, mental math tricks like this will speed up your work and make it more accurate. So that is that one. Arithmetic reasoning practice test question for the ASVAB and PiCAT says a music concert is 3 hours long. During the concert, there's one 27-minute intermission. What percentage of the concert is the intermission? So right away, you can see something's given in terms of minutes and hours. So we're going to have to make a conversion. For this one, you have to know that there are 60 minutes in 1 hour. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to convert 3 hours to minutes. You do 60 times 3, which most of you should be able to do mentally. So there are, in other words, 180 minutes and 3 hours. Now let's calculate this percentage. Again, the concert has an intermission of 27 minutes. The concert itself is 180 minutes long. So by reducing this fraction to decimal, we'll be able to convert to percent very quickly. You should see that 27 and 180 have a common factor of 9. 27 divided by 9 is 3. 180 divided by 9, well, 18 divided by 9 is 2, and just tack on that 0. So let's convert 3 over 20 to percent. There's a couple ways you can do this one. The way I like to do this one is to write this as a fraction over 100, because all fractions over 100 can be written as a percent mentally. So to make 20 100, we're going to multiply it by 5. And 20 times 5 is 100. We're also going to do that to its numerator. We're going to multiply this by 5. 3 times 5 is 15. 15 over 100 is 0.15, or 15%. All right, the other way to solve this one is to do uh, 3 divided by 20. That is to say, to do the long division. 20 doesn't go into 3, so we have to add our decimal and a 0 placeholder, bring our decimal into our answer. How many times does 20 go into 30 without going over? It's going to be one time. 20 times 1 is 20. 30 minus 20 is 10. Again, we have a 0 here that we can bring down. How many times does 20 go into 100 without going over? That's 5 times. 20 times 5 is 100. We have no remainder, so we can stop. So as you can see, whether you take this approach or this approach, you still get the same result of 15%. It's arithmetic reasoning practice test question for the ASVAB and PiCAT says, Andrew and Brandon each gave $5 from their mother every Saturday. After 13 weeks, Andrew had a total of $13 and Brandon had $55. What percent of his 13-week allowance did Andrew spend? So again, let's calculate how much money he received in total. He got $5 a week for a total of 13 weeks. So we'll do 13 times 5. 3 times 5 is 15, carry a 1. 1 times 5 is 5, plus 1 is 6. So he got a total of $65. If he had $13 left after 13 weeks, how much did he spend? Well, we're going to do 65 minus 13. 5 minus 3 is 2. 6 minus 1 is 5. So he spent 52 of the $65 he received. What percent is that? So there's two ways to do this. 52 and 65 have a common factor of 13, and this reduces to 4/5, which is equal to zero point 0.8, or 80%. If you didn't know that 52 and 65 had a common factor of 13, you would read 52 over 65 as long division like this: 52 divided by 65. And you would say, how many times does 65 go into 52? It doesn't. So I have to add a decimal, bring that into my answer, and add a 0 placeholder. How many times does 65 go into 520? You would say it's either going to be 6, 7, 8, or 9 times. So just pick one of them. 65 times 8. Again, 5 times 8 is 40, carry a 4. 6 times 8, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52. So 65 times 8 is exactly 520. We have no remainder, so we could stop. This is 0.8, which is the same thing as 80%. So whether you reduce this by a factor of 13 and knew that 4/5 is equal to 0.8, or you did the long division, you get the same result. This arithmetic reasoning practice test question for the ASVAB and PiCAT says Paulo is 120 centimeters tall. His brother is 3/4 as tall. How tall is Paulo's younger brother? So to answer this one, we're going to do 120 times 3/4. To do this math, that is to say to multiply a whole number by a fraction, we're going to make 120 a fraction by placing it over 1. Again, 120 divided by 1 is just 120. And now we're going to cross reduce as much as possible before we do this multiplication to make this math as simple as possible. That is to say, we're going to say 4 goes into 4 one time, 4 goes into 12, 3 times, therefore 4 goes into 120 30 times. This is 30 over 1. 30 divided by 1 is just 30 times 3 over 1. 3 over 1 is just 3. 30 times 3 is 90. So his younger brother must be C, 90 centimeters tall. This arithmetic reasoning practice test question for the ASVAB and PiCAT says of 1,240 people polled, 30% of them preferred wood rather than carpet for their home's interior flooring. Of the people who preferred carpet, 50% preferred the color beige. About how many of the people polled preferred beige colored carpet? So let's start right here. If 30% of the people polled preferred wood rather than carpet, that means 100 minus 30%, 70% of the people polled preferred carpet. So the first thing we have to do is figure out what 70% of 1240 is. And to do that, we're going to do 1240 times zero point 0.7. Why 0.7? 0.7 is the decimal equivalent of 70%. So this becomes, again, we got to move this decimal one place to the right to make this 1240 times 7, albeit with one decimal to move back into the left. 0 times 7 is 0. 4 times 7 is 28. Bring down an 8, carry a 2. 7 times 2 is 14, 15, 16, carry a 1. 1 times 7 is 7, plus 1 is 8, bring our one decimal in. So 868 people preferred carpet. And right here, we're told that 50% of those people preferred the color beige. So we're going to take 868, we're going to multiply it by zero point 0.5, which is the decimal equivalent of 50%. Again, move this decimal one place to the right to make this 868 times 5, albeit with one decimal to move back in when we're done. 8 times 5 is going to be 40, carry a 4. 6 times 5 is 30, plus 4 is 34, carry a 3. 8 times 5 is 40, plus 3 is 43. Bring our one decimal back in. So you can see that 434 people, answer choice B, preferred beige color carpet. ASVAB PiCAT arithmetic reasoning practice test question says in the morning, a school security guard patrolled the student parking lot from 6:10 a.m. to 7 a.m. If he is paid at a rate of $18 per hour, how much did he earn for that part of his shift? So he worked for 50 minutes between 6:10 to 7 a.m. This 50 minutes, but he's paid per hour. So to figure this one out, we're going to take the 50 minutes that he worked and place that over 60, since there are 60 minutes in an hour. Cross out these corresponding zeros. He worked for 5/6 of an hour. Again, multiply this by 18 because he's paid $18 per hour. Write 18 as a fraction by placing it over 1 so we can cross reduce. 6 goes into 6 one time, 6 goes into 18 three times. This becomes 5 over 1, which is just 5, times 3 over 1, which is just 3. 5 times 3 is 15. So he made $15 for that part of his shift. This arithmetic reasoning practice test question for the ASVAB and PiCAT says Maria exercises for 1 in 5 6 hours every Saturday. She runs for 3/4 of that time. How many hours does she run each Saturday? So this one's very simple. We got to find 3/4 of that time. That time refers to the total time she spends exercising, notably 1 in 5 6 hours. So we're going to do 1 in 5 6, 3/4 of that time. This word of means multiply. So to get our answer, we're going to do 1 in 5 6 times 3/4. In order to multiply two fractions, I first have to convert this mixed number to an improper fraction. How do I do that? 1 times 6 plus 5. 1 times 6 is 6, plus 5 is 11. So this is 11 over 6 times 3 over 4. When you multiply fractions, you just multiply straight across. That said, before multiplying straight across, you always want to cross reduce to make the math as easy as possible. 3 goes into 3 one time, 3 goes into 6 two times. So this becomes 11 over 2 times 1 over 4. Now we're going to multiply straight across, given that we reduced it. 11 times 1 is 11, 2 times 4 is 8. This isn't an answer choice because it's an improper fraction. We're going to convert this improper fraction back to mixed number via long division. Again, all fractions can be read as long division. This is 11 divided by 8. How many times does 8 go into 11 without going over? That's one time. 1 times 8 is 8. 11 minus 8, well, that's 8, 9, 10, 11. That's 3. All right, so this one is going to be 1. This 1 is our whole number. This remainder of 3 is going to be the numerator of our mixed number. And this 8 is going to be our denominator. So she runs for 1 and 3/8 hours on Saturday. This arithmetic reasoning practice test question for the ASVAB and PiCAT says a computer programmer writes an average of 40 lines of code per hour. The programmer has 6 projects and takes 2 hours to write the code for each project. How many total lines of code did the programmer write? So again, he has 6 projects and they all take 2 hours to complete. 6 times 2 is 12. So he's coding for 12 hours. If he writes 40 lines of code per hour, that means he's going to write 40 times 12 lines of code in total. So all we have to do is this simple arithmetic right here. 0 times 2 is 0, 4 times 2 is 8. Before we start multiplication with this 1, we bring in a 0 placeholder. 1 times 0 is 0, 1 times 4 is 4. Add this up, this is 480. So in total, he wrote 480 lines of code. Arithmetic reasoning practice test question for the ASVAB and PiCAT says a wooden box is 1 foot high, 3 feet wide, and 5 feet long. Bob is going to use it for a tabletop and plans to paint the 4 sides and top. How many square feet will be painted? So we're talking about finding the surface area of this box, excluding the bottom of it. So we're going to have to calculate surface area. And the first thing I like to do whenever I have to calculate surface area is quickly write down length, width, and height, because this helps me write the formula without really having to memorize anything. Again, according to the problem, its height is 1 foot, its width is 3 feet, and its height is 5 feet. How do we find the surface area of a rectangular prism or a box? Well, it looks like this: 2 times something in parentheses plus 2 times something in parentheses plus 2 times something in parentheses. Well, what do we put in the parentheses? We just have to make sure to multiply length, width, and height all together. So in this one, I could put length times width. In this one, I could put length times height. And in this one, I could put width times height. Now, that said, we are not painting the bottom of this box, right? So we have to exclude that from part of this formula. Again, this 2 represents left and right, uh, front and back, and top and bottom. So we have to figure out which part of this formula we're going to modify to get rid of the bottom. Well, we can see the bottom has a length and a width. And so we only need length and width for the top of the box, not the bottom. So this is our new modified formula: 2 times length times height plus 2 times width times height. Now let's just plug values in and work this out. This becomes very easy now. Length and width is 5 times 3 plus 2. Length and height is going to be 5 times 1. And width and height is 3 times 1. This becomes 15 plus 5 times 1 is 5 times 2 is 10. 3 times 1 is 3 times 2 is 6. This is 25 plus 6, which is 31. So he's going to be painting 31 square feet. This arithmetic reasoning practice test question for the ASVAB and PiCAT says Cheryl has a small rectangular garden that has a 24-foot perimeter. The width of the garden is exactly 1/2 of its length. What is the area of Cheryl's garden in square feet? So we know its perimeter is 24 feet. and we want to find its area. How do you find area? Area is simply length times width for a rectangle. And the question is, given this information, how are we going to calculate its area? Well, we're told right here that its width is exactly half of its length. So here's a rectangle. I'm going to call its length L. And if its width is half of its length, we could call its width half L. Now, how do you find the perimeter of any regular polygon, including a rectangle? You simply add up all of its sides. So if we start here and go this way, that's going to be half of L plus half of L plus L. And we know what's more, its perimeter is 24. So this is 24 equals L and L is 2L, half an L and half an L is 1L. So in total, this is 3L. Divide both sides by 3 now to get L by itself. 24 divided by 3 is 8. So we know its length is 8. Its width is half of L. Half of 8 is 4. Let's find its area now. Again, we know L is 8 and width is 4. 8 times 4 is 32. Its area is 32 square feet. This arithmetic reasoning practice test question for the ASVAB and PiCAT says there are 9 equal stacks of tiles. A worker loads 4 stacks of tiles in a wheelbarrow and 5 stacks in a truck. How many tiles are in the truck if there are 28 tiles in the wheelbarrow? So in the wheelbarrow, we have 4 stacks according to the problem, and in the truck, there are 5 equal stacks according to the problem. In addition, we know that there are 28 tiles in the wheelbarrow. If these stacks are equal, we could divide this by 4 to figure out how many tiles there are in each stack. 28 divided by 4 is 7. So in each stack of tiles, there are 7 individual tiles. Again, we have 5 stacks here. 5 times 7 is 35. So in the truck, there are B 35 tiles. This arithmetic reasoning practice test question for the ASVAB and PiCAT says at an airport, 25% of the flights arrive from within state, 35% from out of state, and the rest from other countries. If a total of 240 flights arrived, how many flights arrived from out of state? So right here, we know 35% of them arrived from out of state. So we're going to take the total number of flights that arrived, that is 240. We're simply going to multiply it by the decimal equivalent of 35%, which is 0.35. All right, so in order to proceed, we're going to have to shift this decimal in 0.351 2 times to the right to make this 240 times 35, albeit with 2 decimals to move back into our answer when we're done. 0 times 5 is 0. 4 times 5 is 20, so bring down a 0, carry a 2. 2 times 5 is 10, plus 2 is 12. Before we start multiplication with that 3, add a 0 placeholder. 3 times 0 is 0. 4 times 3 is 12, so bring down a 2 and carry a 1. 2 times 3 is 6, plus 1 is 7. Let's add these together now. This is 0.0048, bringing our 2 decimals, 1, 2. You can clearly see that D 84 flights arrived from out of state. ASVAB PiCAT arithmetic reasoning practice test question says, what is the cost of mailing a package that weighs 3 pounds and 3 ounces if the cost is a flat fee of $1.50 plus 5 cents for each ounce the package is over 6 ounces? So in this case, you have to know that there are 16 ounces in every pound. And to get started, we're going to convert 3 pounds and 3 ounces to be in terms of just ounces. So again, there are 16 ounces in every pound. So 3 pounds is going to be 16 times 3 ounces. 3 times 6 is 18, carry a 1. 1 times 3 is 3, plus 1 is 4. So 3 pounds is 48 ounces, plus these 3 additional ounces is going to be 48, 49, 50, 51. So this is 51 ounces in total. The first 6 ounces are free, basically. So we're going to subtract out those 6 ounces that we get for free from this. And this becomes, well, 50 minus 6 would be 44. So 51 minus 6 is simply going to be 45. We're charged a rate of 5 cents for each ounce the package is over 6 ounces. We are 45 ounces over those 6 ounces, so we're going to do 45 times 0.05 now. And to do this math, we're going to move this decimal one 2 times to the right to make this 45 times 5 with no decimals. And once we're done, we'll move our decimal place 2 times to the left. 5 times 5 is 25, carry a 2. 4 times 5 is 20, plus 2 is 22. Bring our two decimals back in, 1, 2. So again, for those 45 ounces, the package is more than 6 ounces. We're charged 2.25, and again, we have a flat fee of $1.50, regardless of how much the package weighs. So let's add these two things together. This is 5.7. Drop down our decimal 3. So it's going to cost us uh, $3.75 to mail this package. Practice test question for the ASVAB and PiCAT says a photocopy machine can copy 24 pages per minute. How long will it take the machine to make 36 copies of a 324-page document? So let's calculate how many pages we have to copy. Again, the document is 324 pages, and we're making 36 copies of that. So we're going to do 324 times 36. 4 times 6 is 24, carry a 2. 6 times 2 is 12, 13, 14, carry a 1. 3 times 6, 18, 19. Add a 0 placeholder before we start multiplication with this 3. 3 times 4 is 12, carry a 1. 2 times 3 is 6, plus 1 is 7. 3 times 3 is 9. Let's add all this up. This is going to be 4, 6, 16, carry a 1, 11. So we're going to be copying 11,664 pages. And again, this machine copies at a rate of 24 pages per minute. So by doing 11,664 divided by 24, we'll know how many minutes it's going to take to make these photocopies. How many times does 24 go into 116 without going over? It's going to be 4 times. Again, think of 24 like 25. 25 times 4 would be 100. 25 times 5 would be 125, which would be too big. I'm going to do this off to the side so as not to make any mistakes here. 4 times 4 is 16, carry a 1. 2 times 4 is 8. This is 9. 6 minus 6 is 0. 9. 11 minus 9 is 9, 10, 11, 20. Drop down this 6. How many times does 24 go into 206 without going over? Well, again, think of it like 25. 25 times 8 would be 200, so this has to be 8 times. And I'm going to do 24 times 8 off to the side so I don't make any mistakes. 4 times 8 is 32, carry a 3. 2 times 8, 16, 17, 18, 19. So this is 192. Let's do this subtraction here. 6 minus 2 is 4. 20 minus 19 is 1, and we got to drop down this 4. How many times does 12 go into 144? That's 12 times. Since 24 is twice as big as 12, I know 24 goes into 144 6 times. 24 times 6 is 144 with no remainder. So it's going to take 486 minutes to make these photocopies. That said, we have to convert this to be in terms of hours and minutes. Again, there are 60 minutes in every hour. So we're going to take this and divide it by 60. How many times does 60 go into 486 without going over? Well, think of 60 like 6. 6 times 8 would be 48. So 60 times 8 is going to be 480. 46 minus 480 is 6. And just by looking at the answer choices, we know it's going to take 8 hours at least. Only one of them has 8 hours as an answer choice. And here's where we get our 6 minutes. All right, so that is that one. ASVAB PiCAT Arithmetic Reasoning Practice Test question says 2 tanks are partially filled with 96 gallons of water each as shown. Tank A is 4/5 full and tank B is 2/3 full. What is the maximum amount of water that can be held in both tanks together? So we're going to translate these statements into equations that we can then solve. Let's start with tank A. There are 96 gallons of water in tank A, and that is equal to 4/5 of tank A's capacity. So 96 equals 4/5 A. We're going to solve that for A to get its maximum capacity. Let's go ahead and do the same thing for B. Again, there are 96 gallons of water in tank B, and that's equal to 2/3 of tank B's total capacity. By solving this for B, we'll know its total capacity, and then we'll add these two values together. How am I going to solve for A? I'm going to clear 4/5 by multiplying both sides of this equation by its reciprocal, notably by 5 over 4. This crosses out, leaving you with just A over here. Let's write 96 as a fraction by placing it over 1. And before we do this math, let's try to cross reduce. 4 goes into 4 one time. How many times does 4 go into 96? We'll do 96 divided by 4 off to the side. 4 goes into 9 two times without going over. 4 times 2 is 8. 9 minus 8 is 1. Drop down this 6. 4 times 4 is exactly 16. So this is 4 goes into 4 one time. 4 goes into 96 24 times. This is 5 over 1, which is just 5, times 24 over 1, which is just 24. So A is equal to 5 times 24. If you can't do that mentally, do it off to the side. 24 times 5. 4 times 5 is 20. Bring down a 0, carry a 2. 2 times 5 is 10, plus 2 is 12. So tank A has a maximum capacity of 120 gallons. Let's find the maximum capacity of tank B. Again, we're going to get rid of this 2/3 in front of B by multiplying both sides of this equation by its reciprocal, notably by 3 over 2. This crosses out here and here, leaving you with B on this side. And again, we're going to write 96 as a fraction by placing it over 1. And we're going to cross reduce. 2 goes into 2 one time. How many times does 2 go into 96? We'll do 96 divided by 2 very quickly. 2 goes into 9 4 times without going over. 2 times 4 is 8. 9 minus 8 is 1. Drop down this 6. 2 times 8 is 16, so we have no remainder. So this says 2 goes into 96 48 times. So this is 3 over 1, which is just 3, times 48 over 1, which is 48. So B is 3 times 48. Again, if you can't do that mentally, do it off to the side. We have 48 times 3. 3 times 8 is 24, carry a 2. 3 times 4 is 12, 13, 14. So tank B's maximum capacity is 144 gallons. How much water can they both hold together? Well, we have 120 gallons in tank A, 144 gallons in tank B. So we'll do 144 plus 120. That's going to be 462. So they can hold 264 gallons together. Pretty tedious problem, but pretty simple math to do it. This arithmetic reasoning practice test question for the ASVAB and PiCAT says, what is the approximate surface area of a box that is 8 inches wide, 12 inches tall, and 9 inches long? So let's write down these three things. We have a box that is 8 inches wide, so its width is W, 12 inches tall, so its height is 12, and 9 inches long, so its length is 9. Now, the formula to find surface area is not one that you have to memorize. Just remember this. The surface area of a rectangular prism, which is a box, looks like this. 2 times, and we put something in parentheses, plus 2 times, we put something in parentheses, plus 2 times, and again, we're going to put something in parentheses. Well, what do we put in these three sets of parentheses? All we have to do is multiply all three of these things together. So in this one, I could do width times height. In this one, I could do width times length. And in this one, I could do height times length. As long as you know that, you don't really have to memorize this formula. That said, let's go ahead and plug these values in. Width and height is 8 times 12 plus width and length is going to be 8 times 9 plus height and length is 12 times 9. All right, let's work this out. Now, if you don't remember what 12 times 8 is, you can always do it off the side. Again, you have 12 times 8. That's 16, carry a 1, 8, 9. So this is 2 times 96 plus 8 times 9. You can use your hand for that one. You know that's going to be 2 times 72 plus 2. 12 times 9, if you don't remember that one, do it off to the side. We have 12 times 8 over there. You could add 12 to that, or you could do it this way. 2 times 9 is 18, carry a 1. 1 times 9 is 9, plus 1 is 10. So this is 2 times 108. All right, so now we got to work out 2 times 96, 2 times 72, and 2 times 108. I'm going to do that down here. 96 times 2. Again, 6 times 2 is going to be 12. Carry a 1. 2 times 9 is 18. 19. So this is 192. Plus, let's do 72 times 2 right here. 2 times 2 is 4. 7 times 2 is 14. So that's 144. And then 2 times 108. 108 times 2. That's 16, carry a 1. That's 0 plus 1 is 1. And then 2 times 1 is 2. Let's add all this up now. I'm going to do it off to the side so as not to make any mistakes here. We have 192, 144, and 216. 6 and 4 is 10, plus 2 is 12, carry a 1. 4 and 1 is 5. 9 and 1 is 10. 10 and 5 is 15. Carry a 1. 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, so its surface area, as you can see, is 552 square inches. Very tedious problem, but nothing too hard. ASVAB PiCAT Arithmetic Reasoning Practice Test question says a train goes twice as fast downhill as it can go uphill and 2/3 as fast uphill as it can go on level ground. If it goes 120 miles per hour downhill, how long will it take to travel 45 miles on flat land? So to solve this one, we need the distance formula. That is, distance is equal to rate times time. We know the train is traveling 45 miles on flat land, so distance is going to be 45. We're trying to figure out how long. How long is in reference to t or time. That said, we got to determine what the rate of the train is. And to do that, we're going to work backwards. Again, we know how fast the train goes downhill. According to the problem, it goes 120 miles per hour downhill. According to the problem, likewise, we're told that it goes twice as fast downhill as it can go uphill. So if it goes 120 miles per hour downhill, and that's twice as fast as it can go uphill, that must mean it goes 60 miles per hour uphill. And finally, we're going to figure out how fast it's going across level ground. And right here it says it goes 2/3 as fast uphill as it can go on level ground. So 60 miles per hour is equal to 2/3 as fast as the train can go on level ground. So we're going to solve this one for L, and that will be our rate that we can plug into the distance formula here. Let's clear this fraction in front of L by multiplying both sides of the equation by its reciprocal, notably by 3/2. This crosses out here and here, leaving you with L over here. Let's do this math very quickly. I'm going to write 60 as a fraction by placing it over 1. 2 goes into 2 one time, 2 goes into 60 30 times. This is 3/1, which is just 3, times 30/1, which is just 30. 3 times 30 is 90. So this train goes 90 miles per hour across level ground. So we have everything we need to solve this one. Again, we know distance is 45 miles. We know its rate across level ground is 90 miles per hour, so let's plug that in. And we know we're going to be solving for t. To solve for t, we're going to divide both sides by 90, of course. This crosses out, leaving you a t over here. 45 over 90 reduces to 1/2. Again, 45 divided by 45 is 1. 90 divided by 45 is 2. So in other words, it's going to take this train half of an hour to cover those 45 miles. So this one is C. There are 60 minutes in an hour. And if you didn't know that half an hour is equal to 30 minutes, you do 60 times 1/2. Write this as a fraction by placing it over 1. This is 60 over 2, which is 30. So that's how we got the 30 minutes there. This arithmetic reasoning practice test question for the ASVAB and PiCAT says a structure in a 1 to 20 scale drawing has a height of 36 centimeters. If the ratio of the height of the structure to the width of the structure is 4 to 1, what is the width of the actual structure to the nearest tenth of a meter? So let's start by solving this one with our first proportion. We know the drawing has a scale of 1 to 20, so that's 1 to 20 equals, again, this 1 represents the scale, this 20 represents the actual size. We know the height of the uh, scale drawing is 36, and the actual size of the structure is unknown, so we'll call that x. All right, to solve proportions, you do so via cross multiplication. 1 times x is just x, and then we have 36 times 20. I'm going to do this off to the side to make this look nice and neat. Again, we have 36 times 20. 0 times 6 is 0. 0 times 3 is 0. Add a 0 placeholder before we get started. 2 times 6 is 12. Carry a 1. 3 times 2 is 6 plus 1 is 7. This is 720 plus nothing, so it's just 720. All right, so we know the actual height of the structure is 720 centimeters. Now we're going to use this second proportion or the second ratio to figure out its actual width. Again, we know the height and the width have a scale of 4 to 1. This 4 represents the height, which we know is 720. We don't know its actual width, so we'll call that x. Again, you solve proportions via cross multiplication. So we have 4 times x, or 4x equals 1 times 720, which is just 720. To solve for x, we're going to divide both sides by 4. This crosses out, leaving you with x equals. What is 720 divided by 4? Well, let's think about it this way. You could do the long division as I set up off to the side here. 72 divided by 4 is 18, and just tack on that 0. So this is 180 centimeters. We're not done with this problem because now we have to convert our centimeters to be in terms of meters, as you can see right here. Well, in this case, you have to know that we're going from a smaller unit to a bigger unit, that is centimeters to meters. So we're going to be dividing, and there are 100 centimeters in 1 meter. So we're going to divide this by 100, cross out these corresponding zeros. This says 18 divided by 10, which is going to be 1.8. So this one is A. The actual width of the structure is 1.8 meters.